Welcome to all of our Incredibuilders to the next edition of Level Up with Incredibuild. This is a webinar series designed to educate our users with tips, how-tos, best practices, use cases, and other helpful content that really empowers you to use or to get the most out of your Incredibuild solution that you've got there on site. Today, we are talking about Incredibuild Cloud. I am Jim Schultz. I'm the head of community at Incredibuild. If you've not already joined our forum, it is at community.incredibuild.com, and I will put this in the description of the video, but I'm also going to put this into the chat for everybody right now. If I can pull up the chat. Oh, there we go. This should go to everyone. There you go. If you haven't joined the community, you can go to it right there, easy to join. And then there's lots of other Incredibuilders there with more helpful information. And you can join discussions not only with us, but with other users as well. Our speaker today is a senior product manager at Incredibuild, Israel Rogoza. Israel, would you like to say hello to everybody?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Israel Rogoza, and I am the Cloud Product Manager at Incredibuild. I've been working at Incredibuild for the last 4 years, leading all the cloud activity. Prior to that, I was a product manager at HP Software, leading the load testing SaaS solution. And I think I have more than 10 years of enterprise software development and testing. This helps a lot in my job, in my role, to understand the pain of finding the sweet spot between the gaining the performance versus balancing the cost, especially when using the cloud. And I hope that you will get nice inputs and tips and tricks that you can start from tomorrow to do as part of your development cycle.
Cool, thank you, Israel. I looked over, Israel shared his presentation with me, and he's going to break this into some different sections here. We're going to talk about why cloud with Incredibuild, talk about getting your projects cloud ready. We're going to discuss spot instances, the pros and cons of using those. We're going to show a quick use case and then also end with the demo. Then we'll wrap the discussion here up today with some open Q&A. So if you have questions, though, you don't need to necessarily wait until the end. You can ask us while he's talking. Just drop them into the chat. I'll keep an eye on that for Israel, and then I might pause and ask the question there. But then we'll have more time at the end, like I said, to ask more questions. You can even come off and mute and ask your questions that way. So now let's give center stage here to our friend Israel. Go ahead and take over, and I'm going to put myself on mute, and I'll watch the chat here for you, Israel.
Thank you. So I will share my screen. Great. So let me start with a story. I would like to begin with a story of a large enterprise customer who shared with me the following story, the dev challenge that they have. The entire company, this is a large enterprise customer, the entire company, was focused on releasing a new version, happened to all of us. And it was supposed to be something huge, a major version that the entire company was focused about, and everyone was getting their hopes around this major release. And the release train, there is not only development, we have marketing, there is the sales team, the pre-sales, everyone was, the release train was on her way, and there was a deadline. Although they used the cloud on a few of the cycles and a few of the tasks, the customer told me that in order to achieve faster cycles and due to lack of compute power, they leverage their cloud accounts to accelerate the work, to accelerate the development and then the QA. And since they wanted to make sure that they didn't get the cloud famous bill shock, the IT department told them to start using spot instances to reduce the cost, since they saw an increase in the cloud billing during the first few days of using the cloud to accelerate the development cycle. And he told me, and I would like to share with you the story that he told me. So this is a common scenario, he told me, and we have many developers writing their code, and they want to make sure that the build the build is run, that the code that they coded is working as expected. So they execute the build, and their pipeline as part of this build execution allocates spot machine, request for a spot machine. And then this happens. The cricket championship begins streaming. For those of you from North America on the call, cricket is a weird way to play baseball. So, at this moment, most of the machines on the region that they used was taken by the broadcasting, by this streaming provider. The spot taking away, okay? And eventually this caused build fails. So instead of enjoying the scalability of the cloud and accelerate the dev cycle, they got the opposite. They got build fails, and not due to quality, but due to lack of capacity of spot instances. Eventually they had to increase their cloud budget, moving to on-demand, getting late due to all these problems. And I hope that in this presentation, I will share some more tips and tricks and more things that you can take in order to avoid such cases. In a few slides, I will show you how we overcome this issue, so stay patient. So, Jim, I think it's a good time to, before jumping into those three main hurdles, are you using Spot, our following audience? So we have the yes, the no, and no, only good in theory, too complicated in practice.
Sorry for my fat fingering on the keyboard up there. Yopu using Spot, but yeah, I was going to say too, I think that most every other country outside of North America would say that baseball is a weird way of playing cricket.
No. Okay, so I think most of the audience say that they are not using the Spot, and I can honestly say, Jim, that this is what we hear from around 80% of our customers. You wouldn't imagine how large, how enterprise giants, I'm talking, top 100 top 100 ISVs in North America, saying we are not using Spot. It's really a hassle for us to use Spot. So as part of my, I have 4 years in this role, and in previous at HP Software, I have a larger experience with cloud. And I think the cloud had, at least from our side, 3 main things that are difficult to handle. So we have the balance, speed, and cost. It's really hard to find the sweet spot between getting an expensive and large machines or going with cheaper and perhaps light compute machines. Which one will give you the best ROI? And even if you find this sweet spot, handling the machine and making sure that you are getting the machines right on time could be a real hassle. And also sometimes you need all the cores, sometimes you need the entire capacity of the machine, sometimes you need less, sometimes you need more than that. And I see many customers struggle to find what is the best way to overcome this. How do I making sure that I have enough cores when I need them, but I'm not using the compute power when I don't need? And the meaning of not using or use when I don't need is the ability to control the budget. If you have some automatic way to increase and decrease the compute power, then you have better way to control and handle your budget. And we mentioned the Spot capacity, the Spot management. Spot is great. I remember a few years ago when it came up to the market, and Spot.io did a wonderful job introducing the Spot technology to everyone. And Spot is great. You get a nice discount, but this benefit comes with the price. It's not only the dollars. It's the price of workload execution failure right at the moment when you need this compute power. You know, when struggling to find compute power just at the moment you plan to run your workload. And we saw huge demand for spot instances, and not just only when there is a huge sporting event. For example, we see in our records a huge peak in the demand for spot instances all around the cloud vendors in the last 3 months of last year. Just before the holiday season, everyone needed compute power. If this is the broadcasting, if this is the gaming industry, if this is, you name it, anyone would like to get the cheap machines. Especially in the peak time, there is a real problem getting the spot instances machine. So, you know, it all concludes in one place, waiting for the spot or risk of a failure. Or eventually what usually everyone do is, you know, just go to on demand. This is what we hear from our large customers before they move to Incredibuild Cloud. I'm willing to pay as long as it keeps my continuity, as long as it keeps my, it prevents my bill to fail. So, you know, what is the right solution? Go with on demand, long-term reservation of spot. It's all calculations that you need to do in order to, you know, just complete the build and reduce your development cycle. And, you know, the last hurdle that we hear is around IT. Jim, you know, Incredibuild is a long-time company. And for many years, we offered our on-prem solution. It's more like 15 or 16 years, and we have a large install base. And there is a huge difference between getting an on-prem deal to a cloud deal. The cloud deal involves more IT involvement. And you know, if we take the cloud without Incredibuild or without Incredibuild Cloud, it's, you know, it's, for example, the most question that we see and the most biggest hassle is the handling. I remember when I started my position with interviewing some of our customers, and there is a large bank in the North America that I remember interviewing their IT manager, discussing about cloud, and the look on his face when I talked about cloud was, don't get me started. And I asked him, yeah, you can share with me what happened, why you so afraid of cloud? And he said, listen, the QA team wanted to make sure that one of the regression cycle, they want to extend it. So they asked for more machines. And this was a Thursday just before the holidays. And you know, the entire testing went successfully, but someone forgot to log off the machine, to terminate the machine. And eventually we came to the office after this holiday season with close to $1 million of billing due to the large machines awake for almost, I think it was 3 weeks, something like that. And even if we take this story as a one time, and we can handle this, forgetting to close the machines, then it's a real hassle to handle the machines, to keep them up, to keep them down. Maybe you need more, maybe you need less. Who is handling the machine and all of that. Of course, we have more budget issues. It's, you know, we have to face it. Cloud is much more expensive than on-prem. Security aspects, and, you know, manpower. Eventually, someone need to handle that. So you have to perhaps educate your IT. Not each IT guy will know how to manage cloud. You have to hire someone. You have to hire, perhaps it's a DevOps guy that will handle this activity. Eventually, it's a real hassle when we are when we talk about from the IT aspect.
Security, Israel, is obviously another huge consideration, especially if you're talking to somebody like a bank. But interestingly enough, I was talking to somebody else last week about that particular topic, and what he told me was that their company actually considers the cloud more secure than anything that they have on-prem, because of, you know, I think these cloud providers have to go over the top and make sure that things are ultra secure if they want people to trust and put their entire businesses up there. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting thing, and I hadn't heard that up until then. Up until then, I always hear everybody being very concerned about security on the cloud and not moving things there because they're nervous about it. But now I think things are trending the other direction.
It's a good point you are mentioning this. We saw an increase in the last 5 months, something like that, with the finance companies moving to the cloud. So far, we had the gaming, we have perhaps maybe more C++ vendor software, and we see an increase in the finance. And one of the chief security of the banks told me that we see this increase since the major players in the security are now focusing more on cloud and less on the on-prem, keeping the cloud much more secure. So now they feel comfortable moving to the cloud. So this is why suddenly, we see peaks in customers telling us, hey, we heard about Incredibuild Cloud. This is a good time to start talking about it.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt your flow there, but
no, that's a good point. So, before I jump into what is Incredibuild Cloud and all of that, perhaps we have someone in the audience that are not that familiar with Incredibuild. So let's make sure that we are on the same page. A quick recap about what is Incredibuild. Incredibuild is the market leader in software acceleration. Basically the Incredibuild platform delivers powerful distribution process and unique build caching acceleration. Our specialty with our unique virtualization layer is to break the entire workload into small pieces, and each one of those pieces can be run on different computers, on different servers, on different compute power. Basically, what we tell our customers once they understand what is Incredibuild is, where would you like to install your Incredibuild? It could be a hybrid solution, meaning that we can leverage your on-prem compute power and burst into the cloud. We have customers using only the cloud, but basically we can take any multi-process tasks and accelerate it by sending this task to other compute power in your organization out of the box. This is in a one short sentence about Incredibuild. So, let's have a close look on the two most common, not optimal, how to work with cloud machines. And those are the two main ways that we hear from our customers after they are frustrated with the way that they are working and approaching us to help them moving much more faster. So we have the remote execution. Some of our customers, this is also usually common in some of our small customers, but we saw that also in the larger. But remote execution, basically it means that we have a single developer want to execute his workloads on a remote execution on other machines. Basically, it means that he would not want to have a situation where the build is using most of his compute power. Then even the context switch is something that he cannot achieve since the machine is choked 100%. So they are getting a cloud machine. Usually it's a 64 cores, but it could be less. But you are getting the first thing that you're seeing is, what is the right size? Maybe I'm just running an incremental build. Maybe it's something small. Do I really need the 64 cores? I don't think so. Maybe I need more. Maybe I'm just executing. I did a lot of commits. I want to run a large build, or I switch to a different project, and I need more than this 64. So what do I do now? How do I take a larger machine? It's going to the cloud vendor, setting the right machine and all of that. It's really hard to determine different projects, different code. What happens if you add more code? and the machine handling and all of that. So in this case, most of the times, they just can't determine what is the right core count, okay? And of course, if they want to get cheap machine, if they're using Spot, if someone takes the machine back, then the build failed and they have to start all over again. And the second comment that we see is the use Incredibuild, but take a static machines. So this is mostly common in the CI, perhaps in the build farm, when the customer have his coordinator and is setting up a machine with the coordinator and take a few static machines and install our helper agent. And this is not optimal. And you know why? It always comes into the same thing. What is the right size? Do I have enough machines? Maybe I need less, maybe I need more. Those machines perhaps maybe just up and running and waiting for someone to happen, but you're still paying for those machines. So this is something that is really common, and in both cases, this will not answer the speeding up your development cycle or handling your cloud budget much more smarter. So now, after we saw all the hurdles and the hassle and how customers sometimes frustrated and instead of getting lower bills are getting huge bills, or perhaps instead of increasing and speeding up their development cycle, get even worse, they're getting longer waiting time for their developers. Let's talk a bit about what we solve. What is Incredibuild Cloud? So we have three main layers at Incredibuild Cloud. We have the auto scale, the Spot orchestration, and the continuity. Let's start with the auto scale. Incredibuild, because Incredibuild is aware of your workloads, and from the other side is connected to the cloud. Basically, we take the auto scaling to the next level. Incredibuild out of the box automatically monitor the number of cores needed at any given moment. This means that Incredibuild can dynamically and optimally allocate or perhaps deallocate Spot or on demand according to your to the customer preferences and workload demand and core availability. So we know exactly how much machines do you need, and when the machines are no longer needed, we will terminate or put them back to sleep into a stopped mode. So you will not pay for the extra time. And Spot orchestration, we saw it at my story. Spot is great in theory, but not so much in practice. And with Incredibuild Cloud, I'm repeating that, but this is true. You are getting the right out of the box support at the Spot, including the fallback capabilities, which brings me to the last item, which is the continuity. And this word is, we hear that from many of our customers, the ability to keep their build going and executing until the end without any disruption. And again, out of the box, you're getting this feature, the fallback mechanism. And the fallback mechanism, basically, you can set up to 10 desirable instances that will be requested and deployed over different availability zones. So we have the 10 machines over different availability zones. And if the default machine, for example, instance, cannot be provisioned, then we will jump into the second favorite machine and the third and the fourth until we will get you a machine. Everything is being done behind the scenes, no interruption, nothing to do from your side. We just keep your continuity. We will keep your build until the end with the best performance that we can take. And that's not all, because as part of the fallback mechanism, we're making sure that we keep the entire storage with you, meaning that even if the cloud vendor took your machine back, we will keep the storage with us to the new machine that we just provisioned. So, bottom line, no more cold machines. Incredibuild ensures that you get the optimal machine type every time with the machine cache and storage. So you will keep the momentum, you will keep the entire performance as the same. So we talked about Incredibuild Cloud, and let's see how Incredibuild Cloud, how it really works. So we have the initiator machine. This is the developer. In this scenario, in this example, he got an 8-core machine. And once he execute once he execute his workload, then the initiator requests from the coordinator, hey, in this example, I need 6 machines. That's what I need in order to accelerate my workload. So the coordinator will approach the orchestration service, the Incredibuild Cloud orchestration service. And this service will wake up the machines. And if he needs more machines than what he currently have in stopped mode, he will create those machines. So it was too fast, and I would like to show you that. So the initiator will go to the coordinator, to the orchestration service, will wake up the machines, and will create more machines since the initiator requested for 6 machines. Once the machines are up and running, then the entire communication goes between the initiator and the helper, the cloud helper machines. Of course, all communication is outbound, so there is no connection initiating from the cloud to the organization. Everything is outbound for a much more secured way. Once the build is over, then Incredibuild Cloud will terminate some of the machines, and according to the customer preferences, will move the other machines into a stopped mode. While the machines are in stopped mode, basically in most cloud vendors, the customer will only use for the storage. From my experience, most of the cloud vendors offer their storage in a really cheap way. This way, you also gain to save the valuable storage, the valuable files and cache. So next time the cloud helper will help other initiator, other developer, he will be warm and will be able to get more performance. So remember my story? Let's go back to my story and see how we solve this huge problem with using spotting the right way. So just to recap, the company, this company was faced a failure, not because of a code problem or testing failure. It was because, 5 or 10 minutes after the execution, the spot machine were taking back, or in worst cases, they couldn't even get a spot machine, meaning the build was not even started. So what we did with Incredibuild Cloud is connect the entire process. We barely touched the pipeline. So instead of getting one machine, one spot machine, could be large, I don't know, this is the way that they used. We integrate Incredibuild Cloud, meaning that, we can control the cloud vendor. So those cases where the machine taking back is something that is as part of using spot. But instead of build failure, what we did is that the fallback mechanism was making sure that we keep the continuity. So each time the cloud vendor took the machine back, the fallback mechanism started to looking for a new spot machine. For each availability zone, for each machine type, eventually we got in a machine in around less than 5 seconds. We got them a new machine. We transferred the cache. The build was keep running. And I have to say, you get this recovery mechanism also right out of the box, meaning that once the new machine is up and running, we reassign the task, everything out of the box without any involvement from the customer. Basically, in this way, they will manage to finish all the development, getting everything on time, on track, and releasing this major version on time. So, it's a good story at the end, but there are some tough times to this R&D group, to these DevOps guys. struggling and with all the pressure of getting machines just to, basically run the build. So let's go over on some of the benefits, the extra benefits that I mentioned sometimes during this so far. So, with Incredibuild Cloud, you're not just getting the orchestration service and the fallback and all of that. You can leverage cheaper, more available machines. Sometimes customers are using a specific machines because they got the best performance that they can achieve. But with Incredibuild Cloud, you can get, instead of 64, you can get a 16 core, which is cheaper and perhaps maybe much more available instance. And we will scale what we need in order to achieve the performance. Making Spot a reality, you get the optimal machine type every time with the auto scale and with a true fallback capability. So, and if we are moving to the, to the IT, you're getting kind of IT heaven, since we will keep the entire machines updated with the latest OS patches. We support Windows and Linux, and we will keep the machine security up to date. You have APIs to wake up the machines as part of the pipeline. You can set scheduling in the UI. If you know when you need more machines, when you need less, you can control all of that with our easy to use UI. We have our monitoring, handling zombie machines, disconnected machine happens all the time. And we have our own monitor to make sure that you will not get zombie machines running around in your cloud environment, just sitting there and eating your budget. And, last is the ups and downs. IT sometimes struggle to find what is the best way, what is the best number of machines, the capacity, the size, who need that, who need more. With Incredibuild Cloud, you just execute the workload and we make sure that you get the right amount of machines. Let's jump to a success story that we have with Minitab. Accelerates build and test and optimize cost on Azure. Minitab, before Incredibuild Cloud, was in a transition to the cloud. They used TFS for many years as part of as the primary DevOps tool, and they started using Azure DevOps. They started migrating to the cloud, getting rid of their old compute power in the office, the on-prem. And they got into the same situation where there was a problem with handling the cloud machines, and they were really struggling with that. The performance was nice, the scaling was nice, but eventually you can see in the quote that once they are moved to Incredibuild Cloud, we are optimizing our resources according to our exact needs, so nothing goes to waste. And this is the key sentence in this quote, making sure that he's controlling the budget, getting the right amount of machines. And I'm not talking about the bread and butter of Incredibuild, which is the acceleration. You can see from 60 minutes to 20 minutes. And this is not a mistake. The second performance you see here is not a mistake. We reduced their G-test. We reduced their testing performance from 11 hours to 20 minutes. 11 hours to 20 minutes by scaling to the cloud, using all the compute power that they need, and then scaling down once the tests are finished. So we get the performance and we get the budget. And this is only one story for many stories that we have. This is the finance company, we have gaming company, and many more industries that are using Incredibuild. It could be Windows, could be Linux. Basically, all the customers enjoys our technology. Okay, So we talked a lot about, finding the sweet spot between cost and performance, and it's time to see some action. So, one of the major advantages of Incredibuild is the seamless, the ability to install Incredibuild, and most of the times it just works. Right out of the box, perhaps maybe with a few fine tuning, you get the performance. And as the product manager of the cloud, I was really trying hard to keep this seamless, to keep this method of it just works. So we have the registration funnel, the registration process to enjoy Incredibuild Cloud, to gain the advantage of Incredibuild Cloud is no more than 15 minutes to half an hour to complete the entire registration. So let's go over quickly about the registration, and then we will see a live demo of OpenCV project. OpenCV is open source computer vision library. It was originally developed by Intel, I think. It's an open source computer vision and machine learning that is a lot common, and we have a few customers using that and using Incredibuild Cloud to accelerate this tool set. So, of course, the first thing that you will see once you click on the Scale to Cloud from your coordinator is the registration to Incredibuild Cloud. You fill up your personal information. We will not use this information for any marketing activity. The entire details is mainly for alerts, warnings, reports, and so on. So don't be afraid to add your information. We support, I forgot to mention this, we support AWS, Azure, and of course, Google Cloud. So you can choose which is your favorite cloud vendor. Once you do that, for each one of the cloud vendor, you add the permissions. And this is a good time to mention how to talk about Incredibuild Cloud from this aspect. Incredibuild Cloud is not a SaaS solution, meaning that the entire activity is being handled on your cloud account for maximum security. So in order to grant us the permissions to create machines, storage, and any other infrastructure, then you need to give us a very low number of permissions to do that. And this is the place where you do that. All the permissions and roles that are needed is in our documentation. It's docs@incredibuild.com. You have cloud, and then you can see I can guarantee you that we have a complete security cycle with which one of those vendors, making sure that we are requesting the most lowest role and permissions in order to make Incredibuild Cloud as it today with the fallback and spot and all of that. So we are moving on to the last steps. We have here the resource management, where you can choose your cloud region. If you want us to create our infrastructure as part of an existing network, then this is the place to do that. If not, we will create a new network. If this is in AWS, it's a VPC or resource group or anything that we need, we will recreate it. So you have an option to check this checkbox if you have a VPN or something like that. You can use tags. Tags is here mostly to give you more control, give you more visibility on the Incredibuild Cloud handling. So it will be easier for you to control the budget and the entire view of Incredibuild Cloud inside your cloud account. Moving on to the virtual machines. So we support most of the compute type instances in each of those vendors. So you can set here the default machine type, this type. If you're talking about budgeting, then you can set the max number of VMs that Incredibuild will provision. You can set the timeout until when the machine will wait for other tasks in idle mode until we set the machine to terminate auto in stopped mode. You can control storage and all of that. At the bottom, you can select the fallback machines type. In case the machine is taking or is not available, then Incredibuild Cloud will go one by one in order to get you a spot machine. You can control the ports and the network stuff. And of course, just before you click on the Enable Cloud, you can go over all the information that you set to make sure that everything is correct. Once you hit the Enable Cloud, then you get this nice message. At this moment, what we do is to create the entire machine, storage, network, permissions, everything we need to keep Incredibuild Cloud up and running. Usually it takes around 5 to 10 minutes, something like that. So eventually with this process and the registration, from my experience, no more than 30 minutes and everything is up and running. Okay, so now I will show you the execution and how Incredibuild Cloud kicks in at the moment you need the compute power. So I will stop sharing this screen and we'll move on to my virtual machine.
While you're doing that, I'll just let you know, Israel and everyone else, we do have a couple of questions in the chat, and I'll save these for the Q&A. But if anyone has more questions, please drop them in there. I'm keeping track of all of these, and we'll answer all of this for you.
Okay. So this is my virtual machine. You can see on the left, this is the Incredibuild Cloud coordinator. I already did the registration because it's a simple process. So I want to straight away show you what is the how it looks from the developer side or the CI side. So if I want to try Incredibuild Cloud over here, if the cloud is not enabled, then you have the scale to cloud button. Out of the box with nothing from our side, you get 14 days trial to try Incredibuild Cloud for free. The only charge here is for the cloud machines, but that's it. So you can try it on your own. If you need our assistant, we'll be more than happy to help you. You can see here that I have two machines, two on-prem machines. This is one of them, and I have a second machine that is connected. And I will go into my the Visual Studio, the OpenCV, click on the rebuild solution.
A quick question while you're on this part, Israel. Is there also a need to install the agent in the VM, or is that handled automatically?
You only need to install the you only I ran the I'm sorry, I ran the Visual Studio. You only need to the only thing you need to install is the initiator agent and of course the coordinator. Other than that, everything is being done automatically. Okay, so we started the build. Yeah, if you have more questions, this is the right time. And if once we see the cloud machines up and running, then we will get back into the demo gym. So if you have questions or you want to do the poll, then this is the right time.
Yeah, would you like me to launch one of the polls here?
Can you hear me?
Oh, yep, we can hear you. Go ahead, Milan.
So I'm a big fan of the Incredible. I know Ginat, others, Yoni, whoever helped me also, Israel was presenting once all this. So my question would be what I already asked management, whether is there a prize that I can get for let's say 1 hour of execution, and in that 1 hour, for example, there was a 50 machine using 8 cores, let's say 32 gig of RAM, just to get into the motion on my side with my management for planning and budgeting on the, let's say, AWS service. So this is one bit of information what I'm missing at the moment, but the rest of stuff and cloud, etc., is working fine. So that would be my question. If there is really like a figures that I can compare with something and just present to my management. That's it. I'm from Citigroup anyway. Yeah.
So
if you can share such a details, that's it.
Yeah, basically, each project has its own unique distribution and task needed at any given moment. So what I usually recommend is to tackle this in two different ways. It's up to you. You can start our trial, for free, run a few projects, just the machine cost, and that's it. And you can see on your cloud portal the exact amount of course and time. So you can calculate your cloud cost. It really depends on each of the agreement that you have with the cloud vendor. And from the Incredibuild side, we have reporting, or you can contact Yoni or your customer success, and they will get you all the information you need from the Incredibuild side, how many cores was used during this benchmark. And the second thing that you can do is to contact, to run a small POC with us, and we can do that live. After a few executions, we can navigate you, we can show you where to find all the information that you need to get this data. Okay, so you can see here that the first cloud machines are appearing, and I'm using 2 cores machine. Okay, so I got more machines here. So you can see the build was struggling at the first. There are many tasks only on 4 cores. And now, let me just hold that bigger, yeah. I will open the build monitor. Okay, yeah, now you can see that much better. So you can see that I have, instead of the 4 cores that I'm using, now I have 36 cores, and I'm sure that there will be more cores during the as the build are getting longer. So you can see that all the cloud cores are now helping to execute the workload. I can tell you from previous benchmarks that I did that without the cloud, it takes around 24 minutes, something like that. You can see this is a nice view. So without the cloud, it's something around 24 minutes, even with 8 or 16 cores. But with the cloud, with 68 cores, something like that, I managed to reduce the time to 8. Okay, so 1/3 instead of 24. Eventually, what you can do, Jim, is run the same workload 3 times in the same time that you are used to wait. So you can see also this nice. I have here some linking, so it's so I have to wait, but you can see the momentum that we're gaining since I have many cores. One more thing that I have to mention, Jim, when you have large builds that takes 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, at some point when the idle timeout reach, then we will turn down those machines, so we'll not have to pay for them. And once you need back the machines, then we will turn them down. And the AWS and Azure, and I think also GCP, built by the minute. So the clock is ticking. We stop we stop collecting the money. We start spreading the money to the cloud vendor. And once I need the machines back, then I click and we start charging again. We see around 40% reduce of cost with Incredibuild Cloud, comparing to using normal cloud machines in the same way that I showed you, taking the remote execution or static machines. This is 40% decrease with the billing of the cloud. So I think this is the most things that we covered, the most important things that we covered around Incredibuild Cloud.
This is going to greatly cut into our ping pong time, Israel. Yeah, I'm going to launch one of these polls here, and while we're answering that, I'm going to ask Asif to come off of mute. He had a question that he wanted to ask as well. Asif, go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Israel, hi. Thanks a lot for the demo so far. I have a quick question for you. So at present, we have a coordinator running about 6 or 8 agents on premise. We are planning on shifting across everything to AWS. Now, so for the cloud solution, all we would need is to subscribe to Incredibuild Cloud, as we just showed earlier. And that will, once that's done, that will automatically create the coordinator, and it will scale up the machines as and when we need the capacity. Am I correct?
You are almost correct. So you are on AWS?
Yeah.
Okay, so I can share with you that by the end of this queue, by the end of March, Incredibuild Cloud will also offer the ability to provision in one click the coordinator and the cloud helpers. Okay, but if we are talking about today or tomorrow until the end of the queue, you will still need to create a machine on the cloud for the coordinator by yourself and install it manually.
Right. So as of, if I were to jump on it, say Monday morning, I will need to create a coordinator machine, install Incredibuild on it.
Exactly. And that's
right.
it. Connect the initiator, click on the scale to cloud button, 15 minutes, and you're ready to go.
Right. But if I were to do this in April, then that would all be seamless.
Exactly. It's a one-click solution. We are very looking forward. We will start with the AWS, but we will go into the Azure customers during the year.
Right. And what's the cost for this now? I mean, just for your service for initial. I'm not talking about the cost for running the actual builds, but at the moment we pay a license fee, an annual license fee, right? Of whatever the figure is, I don't know from the top of my head. If we were to move to the cloud, what sort of cost would we be paying for the code in lieu of the annual license fee?
So the cloud hours comes with packages of hours. So okay. Per core per hour. So this is how it goes. I'm sure that once you will contact or perhaps our customer success will approach you, then we can talk more about the license and how it works, and we can give you support moving to the cloud. We have a lot of experience in those areas.
Right. So essentially the costing is per hour.
Per core per hour, yeah.
Per call per hour. So what does per call mean? Could you just expand on that, please?
Yeah, sure. So if we take an eight core machine and it worked for 1 hour, meaning right. that the timing will be on 8 hours. So each core worked 1 hour.
Okay, so core as in the physical core of the machine. Okay, fine, yeah. Brilliant. One last final question I had. That's based on the demonstration you're giving. So you started with when you started the build, you were running on four cores locally. When I say locally, on your VM, yeah. Right? And then it initiated the cloud connections. Now, what if we want to do it completely on the cloud? We do not want to have anything running on our local machines. Would that be possible?
Yeah, yeah. We have in the coordinator. You can this option is called disable as helper, meaning that the machine will not act as a helper. You can also have another settings to. Yes, we have 2 ways to disable acting as a helper.
Right.
It's very common in the cloud customers.
Right. Because what you're saying, I mean, I just clicked. So what you are demonstrating right now is more of a hybrid solution, where you start with something locally and you need more more compute power, so you go to the cloud.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That's what you've shown. But you could go completely cloud native as such if you wanted to.
Exactly.
Right? Oh,
exactly.
Brilliant. So we use Incredibuild on Windows, right? I presume do you have some facilities for Linux?
Yes, of course. Incredibuild Cloud also supports Linux.
It also supports Linux.
Yeah.
And it works exactly the same way.
Exactly the same. You have the same scale to cloud button on your Linux coordinator.
Right.
You have to upgrade to the latest version of Linux, but you have the same button, same process of registration. Everything is the same.
Right. So when you say latest version of Linux, are you saying RHEL 7 or RHEL 8?
No, I'm referring to Incredibuild latest Linux version.
Okay, Incredible latest Linux.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, sorry. So because we don't use Incredibuild on Linux at the moment, we use something else, right? So, but just trying to understand if you were to bring it all under one umbrella as such. Okie doke. Thank you. That's the end of my questions. I won't hog anybody else's time again. Thank you.
Thank you, Asif, for all the great questions. I do want to share the results of the last poll we just launched for everyone too. The question was, what workloads do you run on the cloud? CI, dev, both, neither, or neither planning later this year. So about 20% said CI only, 20% said both, and then 60% said planning for this year. So interesting results here. Now we have one more poll that I want to launch as well. This one is about who manages the cloud, either DevOps, IT, or developers. And so we'll give everyone a chance to answer these. And then Israel, did you have any more while we're answering this one? Anything left in the presentation? Or are we ready to open it up for Q&A?
No. We cover the main things.
Great. So I do have a question that Jorge asked a while back. Jorge, are you still on? Do you want to come off of mute and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I was just wondering if you intend this product, this Incredibuild in the cloud, if it's intended only for CI purposes, or because nowadays when we are working from home and some developers might be behind internet connection, which is not so fast, and then also could be behind a VPN too. And I was just wondering if with all that burden, it also helps to accelerate local builds for local computers on the developer side.
Yes, of course. Basically, anything that you accelerate today with Incredibuild can be also executed with Incredibuild Cloud. It supports all the tool sets.
All right. So
the question is yes.
There is no. So with your test, didn't you experience any, like, for instance, that with all the slowness that can come from internet, from the VPN, etc. Maybe the feedback from Incredibuild Cloud is slower, and then the acceleration doesn't make any sense. So it still should be able to work, depending. I guess depending how long are the builds time in this case.
The build time and the bandwidth. Okay. It's a calculation of it's mostly the bandwidth. We see that with lower bandwidth, any cloud will not work. You can see in our documentation, we have recommendation about the working from home, or you can contact your customer success. We will be happy to help you with setting up the trial or Incredibuild Cloud to check. Some of the guys perhaps maybe have good bandwidth or worse. We need to find the sweet spot around that.
All right. Thank you for the answer.
Thank you, Jorge. Dominic, you had a question too. Are you still on? Do you want to come off of mute and ask Israel? Let me ask it here for you in case Dominic's not near his microphone. Where is liability for cloud costs if an orchestrator bug spins up too many machines or fails to shut them down?
So we have an extensive monitoring around that. And I can say that, knock on wood, Incredibuild Cloud is in the market for 3 years, and prior to that, we have at least 6 months of beta. And we keep investing in our monitoring to make sure that this won't happen. We have supporting, monitoring the activity. We have alerts, making sure that you won't have a zombies or any cloud machine that is not working. We have a 24/7 support that is monitoring the activity. And we keep more and more resources to make sure that won't happen. So this is our reliability to make sure that we don't create or handle or lift behind zombie machines.
I just wanted to read off, and thank you for that question, Dominic. Yeah, his mic wasn't working, but I want to read off the results of our poll here. For, I think people watching the video aren't going to be able to see this, but the question was, who manages the cloud? The choices were DevOps, IT, or developers, and it was 86% DevOps, only 14% IT, which I think is surprising. I think it would be more on the IT side.
No, we hear that from customers. Most of the pressure is around 50% IT, 50% DevOps, and DevOps guys are really expensive. So
So get your money's worth and make the DevOps guys.
Get Incredibuild Cloud.
Gil, are you still on with us too? You had a couple of questions. I want to ask you to come off of mute and ask if that's okay.
Yes, hi Israel. So the first question is, do you have support for hybrid solution if we have local initiators, local VMs? And the second one is, can we get a report for the overall usage of the builds in the cloud, so we can estimate if the cloud vendor will charge us honestly?
So for the first question, yes, we have customers using the hybrid model, meaning the baseline is the on-prem agents, and once they need more compute power, they burst into the cloud, to Incredibuild Cloud. So it's a very common within our customers. The other way is to go all cloud. I can say that we have 70% hybrid and 40% in the pure cloud, all in the cloud. And for the reporting, we are working on a new reporting section to get you a clear visibility on your usage. Currently, what we do is each month you get your usage by mail, something that is manually.
Okay, thank you. No.
Thank you for the questions, Gil. And thank you everyone for sticking around. I know we're about 7 minutes past our time here, so I do want to respect everyone's time unless you get back to what you were doing before this. But before we do, I do want to thank you all for being here. This was recorded. We'll have it up in our community forum here early next week. And I'm just posting into the chat here a link again to the forum. If you haven't joined us there in the community, again, great place to mingle with your fellow Incredibuild users and also with all of us here at Incredibuild. Our next level up with Incredibuild webinar is going to be at the end of this month. It's going to be C++ focused. So if you're a C++ developer, it could be a good event for you. If you have a request, like I said earlier, for any kind of thing that you'd like to cover, please let us know. Let us know in the forum. You can find me there too. You can let me know directly. Always looking for, we want to make these things, as helpful to you as possible. So Israel, thank you again for covering Incredibuild Cloud with us. Thank you all for being here, and we will see all of you at the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim.